A quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson reads, "Every man alone is sincere. At the entrance of a second person, hypocrisy begins." This concise but accurate statement points out the potential of all human beings, which is unfortunately wasted when large groups of people convolute each other's identities and interests in the name of corporate agendas or personal gain. Throughout history, different religions, companies, governments, and miscellaneous organizations have manipulated and objectified people as weapons, resources, and loudspeakers. When the populace turns a blind eye, few communities have failed in creating serious economical, diplomatic, environmental, systemic, and ethical issues. In a way, this tendency for people to put blind trust in a community is an act of laziness, but since laziness is also an essential tactic for creating the most efficient and practical solutions to problems, the matter must be examined further. Specifically, the biggest problem the human race is facing is trust. When honesty thrives best within individuals, and is oft to turn into dishonesty, when multiple individuals interact with each other, it is only natural to believe that communities are a perfect breeding ground for dishonesty. This is not to say that communities are bad, but it does mean that, if people begin to trust the community or collective as a whole, rather than selectively trusting individuals within it, they will be invariably taken advantage of. Although faith, patriotism, belonging, and loyalty are not inherently bad, they can open up a window of opportunity through which people can be manipulated. However, the only preventive measure needed to proactively stop manipulation is simply to keep an eye on that window. Though people may not initially intend to acquire power, it's most likely for inhumane and selfish desires to strike them, when it is within reach. This is not to say that someone who is revered for leadership skills should be debilitated on the suspicion that they could become corrupt, but it does mean that their ideology should always be mixed with that of the people that idolize them. Civil debates do not threaten any religion or movement, but instead help them develop. When an organization makes a decision against the best interests of its people, those people must make themselves heard not only for their own gain, but also to lend support to like-minded people who have chosen to remain silent. When most or all people hold their tongue when something upsets them, the people proposing decisions are unconsciously being given more power than is healthy for them or for the sake of the collective. This is what transforms an authority figure from one who leads willing subservience into an authority figure that makes decisions themselves regardless of the opinions of others. In this way, a corrupt leader does not truly lead, they drag. Again, this happens when people trust the community as a whole and rely on others to raise their voice on their behalf on the logic that, if nobody else does, they must be the only person who disagrees with their dragger. Stating an opinion is not the same as forcing it upon everyone else, but until people understand that, they are bound to feel above the need to hear all voices and consider them with equal open-mindedness. However, more important than the insecurities and feelings of impotency, the most frustrating part about keeping corruption in check is that many corporations interact so subtly with the general population that oftentimes their entire existence is ignored. And while many people may not read the ingredients of a product or the fine print of an agreement due to laziness, oftentimes a society becomes so complex that finding silent adversaries underneath intimidating stacks of paperwork or doing a background check on every company can be likened to finding a needle in a haystack. These kinds of corporations rise up by discovering a new market and exploiting it, and they maintain their power by dominating a market that people are dependent on, such as health, food, transportation, electricity, and security. While it's both impractical and unhealthy to worry about everything at once, generally the best way to recognize these kinds of corporations is to watch commercials, since a new market relies on exposure to grow. Between blind trust and invisibility, countless organizations have taken control from citizens and used their powerlessness to fuel an independent, monetary cause. Some stay on the streets or in clubs, while others manifest themselves inside of factories or government buildings, but all of them should be recognized and maintained such that they will continue to serve the general population. When the subservient submit to the will of a leader, they give that leader a false sense of entitlement and superiority. Because of this, all hierarchies must remain obligatory. Leaders must hold and maintain power only by the choice of those who follow them. More importantly, that choice must be recognized by leader, dragger, and civilian alike. It is just as dangerous for a dragger to trust in the subservience of his or her workers or members, as it is for those individuals to trust in the judgment of their dragger.